Hey everybody, welcome on our channel. In this video we are gonna see, what if Naruto got harem with Widowmaker, Lena and Mercy. Huge shout out to one winged angel of death for this story. If you are new on the channel, don't forget to subscribe our channel and like the video too. So without wasting any more time, let's start the story. Stupid robots. Naruto grunted as he punched in the head of one. Damn, how long has it been since I got here? Naruto lamented to himself as he leaned against the wall of a destroyed building. He had no idea where he was, only that it was anywhere near Konoha or any other village, considering the lack of any chakra barring nature energy. Even then it was weak compared to back him. It had been a little over a week since he had been pushed through a portal at the last moment before Kagaya was fully sealed away. He had woken up in the middle of nowhere, and it wasn't soon after that he had woken up that he was attacked by these strange machines. Their attacks didn't hurt that much, but either way they were annoying. Walking away from the mess of robotic parts, Naruto jumped up to the tallest tree around him, only to find himself surrounded by foliage for miles. In the distance he spotted one single building with a huge smokestack coming out of it. A wide smile spread on his face as the thought of more humans being around entered his head. He had been traveling every day in search of something that would point him toward civilization. But another thought crossed his mind. What if they were the ones who sent those robots after him? Damn it, Naruto, this is no time to think like that, he yelled at himself before dashing towards the smokestack. It didn't take him long running at full speed. What he found both saddened and disappointed him. He was disappointed because there were nothing but machines in the area. He couldn't sense a single person in the area. He was saddened by how devoid of life the area was. It was as if the very ground was poisoned. He went on high alert when one of the robots spotted him and opened fire, prompting the others to follow it. "Guess we're doing this the hard way," the blonde said, hiding behind a tree. He watched as robots patrolled around looking for him. One moved near him with its weapon ready to fire. It never expected the blonde to come out of thin air and sever its head. Running out of his cover, Naruto pulled out 6 shuriken and enhanced them with his wind chakra. "Take this," Naruto yelled, throwing the 6 metal stars. The projectiles each pierced through an individual enemy unit, causing them to explode. The doors to the factory opened, revealing a near-endless army watching out against him. "Shadow clone jutsu," Naruto yelled, creating a dozen copies of himself to engage the mechanical army. He didn't want to pull out anything big yet. He could hear the robots beeping at each other, trying to find a way to take him down. Naruto would always dodge or block their attacks. Even their bullets could do little to hard the blonde human who was tearing their forces like paper. Naruto heard a thump coming from inside of the building. Looking at the open gateway, he saw a large red light getting closer to the exit with every thumping noise. "Looks like a boss is here," Naruto muttered. Something flew out of the darkness, leaving a trail of smoke behind it. The blonde dodged to the left as the projectile flew past and exploded when it hit a tree. "That I may want to avoid," the lost Uzumaki said to himself. The attacker had revealed himself to be a giant mech easily 4 times larger than the normal ones. Its left arm was a rocket launcher with 3 barrels, while its right was a minigun. The giant opened fire on the small army of Naruto clones as the real one took cover behind a rock, not wanting to test his luck. "Better take this thing out quickly," Naruto muttered to himself as he decided to take the missile-launching robot out quickly. Dashing out, the robot couldn't even register his movement as Naruto got behind it with a radiant blue sphere of spiraling energy. "Rasengan," Naruto yelled as his attack tore into the larger enemy. Its metal body did nothing to save it from the blonde signature attack. His clones had made short work of the other ones. The sound of beeping filled his ears as he turned back to see another wave of robots coming at him. This one was made up of hundreds if not thousands. Among them were even more of the larger robots. His scuffle seemed to have alerted the other robots as more came from the sides. "Well, I guess we're doing this the hard way," Naruto said, backing up a bit away from the incoming army. Looking up at the roof, he saw more turning into large turrets. Drawing on the tailed beast chakra within him, Naruto's body became covered in a golden flame. "Now this is more like it," the blonde said, holding his hand up into the air. Wind spun around him as a Rasen shuriken formed in his hand. "Take this," Naruto yelled, throwing his attack into a group of robots. The attack decimated a large amount of robots. His clones followed suit and created their own Rasen shurikens to help their boss destroy the rest. The mechanical army, while more advanced than anything he had seen before back home, was nothing before him. The earth shook from his barrage of attacks. Whatever was left of the opposing force decided it would be best to retreat to avoid ending up like their brethren. Seeing that the robots were retreating, or at least were for now, Naruto decided to leave them alone, since he had originally only came to see if he could find someone, not a fight. "Well, I guess I'll continue looking," Naruto sighed before vanishing in a blur of speed. Overwatch headquarters. "Do you have any more information on a blonde man?" asked an attractive woman with dark tan skin and long black hair. The two wore similar blue long coats and armor, with the blonde wearing a blue visor over his right eye. The two were looking over images that they had sent in for their next mission. I didn't know Brazil still had an he said to her as he looked over images of mechanic soldiers marching out of the factory. The Omni crisis had ended 6 years ago, and yet now they realized that there were still some Omni left. Yes. She told him. Her voice was gentle and carried an Egyptian accent. Anna took out another picture. It was one of the same factory, only the front was littered with parts. The trees in the area seemed to have been uprooted and there were massive craters on the ground. Someone or something attacked the Omni and engaged the Omnic. From what we could tell, at least 300 Omnics were destroyed, possibly much more. The Egyptian sniper said. The UN said that if we find whatever did this, to bring it in, Jack. What if this is hostile? We can handle a few Omnics, but this may be over our head. Anna said to her leader. I say we investigate. A third person said, walking out of a shadowed corner of the room. The man had a muscular build and wore all black. He had darker skin than the other two and wore a beanie on his head. He sported a goatee and mustache combo. We have to go there anyways to deactivate the reactor inside of the Omni to stop the radiation leak. The man said. But Gabriel, what if whatever did this is hostile? I don't want to put our agents at risk. Jack said to the man who glared at him. Don't give me that look. We have a lot of young agents. I don't want to throw their lives away to trying this. Jack told Gabriel. Then I'll do it myself. If he turns out to be hostile and attacks me, then I'll try my best to fend whatever it is off until you guys finish your mission and leave. Gabriel said to the blonde man as he looked at the map of the area. It was in the middle of the Amazon rainforest, far from any civilization. If anyone died there, then it's very likely that no one would ever find them. We'll take a group of 6. You, Anna, May, Reinhardt, Torbjorn will focus on the Omni while I try and track whatever destroyed those Omnic. If I find nothing, then I'll rejoin you guys. Gabriel said to the other you two. That seems fine. Anna said, thinking over the plan. The team was pretty well rounded and had a good amount of experience fighting the Omnics. As for our pilot, we just hired a new one. Quite a hotshot if you ask me. The girl is only 16, yet she pilots better than most Air Force pilots. Anna said with a small chuckle. She was impressed by how well the youngster was able to fly a plane at high speeds. It wasn't every day such a young person could work with Overwatch. Then let's prepare. Jack said to the two. Elsewhere. Blimey, Emily, I can't believe it. My first mission. This is wicked. A teenage girl with spiky brown hair and chocolate eyes yelled over the phone. She wore tight orange spandex-like pants that hugged her legs and a brown aviator jacket. She wore a look of pure excitement on her face. That's great, Lena. Just be careful out there. The Omnic are dangerous. Emily said from the other side of the phone. Lena smiled at how concerned her friend was for her, but she wasn't going to turn down this chance. Don't worry, love. Lena said, laying on her bed. Have I ever given you a reason to worry? Don't answer that. She said before sharing a laugh with her friend. Their call got interrupted when Lena heard a knock on her door. I'll call you when we get back. Lena said, getting of her bed and walking over to her room's door. Time to head out? She asked. Almost. There is just one thing I need to tell you. Anna said seriously. Despite her normally silly and playful attitude, she knew that when one of your commanders was being serious, it was best to follow suit. We got a report that someone or something has been destroying Omnic in the area despite it being miles into the jungle. When we arrive, you'll be the only one on the plane, please be careful. Anna said, sounding genuinely worried for her. No worries, love. I'll make sure to stay in tip-top shape. Lena responded. Brazil. Ugh. I am sick and tired of all these goddamn robots. Naruto yelled as he smashed through another Omnic knot that he knew that was there that they were all done for the count. He decided to retreat to his temporary home of a tent made of leaves and sticks. He still couldn't find another human around, and every once in a while those mechanical assholes would attack him. Worst part was that when he tried to pull in nature energy, he found that it was largely diminished. He could barely enter Sage mode after more than just a few minutes of charging. Back home he could enter it in seconds. Laying down on a bed made completely out of leaves, Naruto decided to take a nap for a while. It was best to sleep for a bit before any more robots came and attacked him. As he went to sleep in his tent, he missed a large plane flying over him and landing a few miles from his location. Plane. A team of 6 got off the plane and looked around the area. They were at most 4 miles from the Omni. Right off the bat they could see pieces of ruined robotics littering the forest floor. What happened here? A rather short man asked as he studied one of the ruined Omnics. This looks like someone punched right through it. He had a large beard tied into 2 pieces with a braid at the end. He wore red mechanical armor and had a claw in place of his left arm. You can still see the markings from the knuckles in the metal, he added, letting the rest of his team see. They have the strength to crush a bastion unit with a single punch. I think I found someone stronger than me, haha, a giant in armor said with a hearty laugh. He had a massive hammer strapped to his back. He was by far the largest of the group and was dressed like a knight. Either way, that looks like a human fist. Reinhardt continued as he backed away a bit to let Jack look. Gabriel. The blonde said, looking back at his fellow American. Are you sure you want to go after this guy? The super soldier asked her current leader of their group. He didn't want to doubt his fellow super soldier, but he also didn't want his friend to throw his life away, trying to find someone who might just kill him. I'm sure. The Hispanic American said, taking off a dog tag from around his neck. If I don't come back, then take this as a memory of me. Gabriel said before moving out, following a trail of destruction, and stepped. Jack looked down at the dog tag and pocketed it. That was a death flag. One of the other women on the team said, sounding worried for her fellow Overwatch member. She was of Chinese descent with brown eyes and hair. Her hair came down to her chin with the top combed to the right, while her hair at the back was tied into a bun. She wore a pair of glasses and a very heavy white and blue winter coat. Next to her was a small floating robot. You'll be fine, May. Anna said, walking past the younger woman. If there is anything that we can count on him to do is get out alive. The Egyptian woman said confidently. While she often disagreed with their secondary commander, she knew him to a good soldier and not someone who could be taken down easily. May still looked concerned but trusted in what the sniper said. Anna is right. Lena watched the plane. Jack said to the pilot, who was leaning against the door. Lena gave her leader a mock salute before returning to the beat pit of the plane. I really hope Gabe finds whoever did this before it finds the plane. Jack thought, not wanting something bad to happen to Lena. He already, though she was a bit too young to join Overwatch at 15 years old. She had been recommended by England as a pilot as soon as she got a flight permit. The group of 5 left the plane and headed through the rainforest towards the Om. The closer they got over their multi-mile track, the more ruined Omnics they came across. Whatever did this sure did some serious damage to the metal bastard. Torbjorn said, looking down at a ruined giant robot. With Gabriel. Following the trail, the Overwatch agent eventually spotted a tent made out of leaves. Creeping closer, he held his shotguns ready to fire at the drop of a pin. He could already see someone sleeping inside. What surprised him was how he was dressed and how old he was. The boy was barely older than Lena, with bright blonde hair spiked in random directions. He was slightly tanned and had 3 whisker marks on each cheek. His outfit was a torn orange and black jacket and pants with a wire shirt under it. He wore open-toe sandals that went past his heels. There is no point in sneaking up on me. The teen's voice came from the tent, surprising Gabriel. Naruto sat up and looked at the first human he had seen since he first arrived in this place. To be honest, Naruto was happy that this confirmed that humans did exist wherever he was. Japanese, Gabriel thought to himself when he heard the teen speak. The way the kid sat in his tent, he didn't look threatening whatsoever. He really could never see this guy destroying an army of Omnics. My name is Gabriel Reyes. I am an agent of Overwatch. He said, lowering his guns a bit but still keeping them at the ready in case things went sour. My team and I were sent to investigate the Omnics in the area. He told the kid. Seeing the look of confusion when he said the word Omnic, he realized that the blonde had no idea what he was talking about. The robots. He put it simply. Oh, those things, Naruto exclaimed, understanding what the other was trying to say. They're so annoying. Naruto complained. They never stop and just shooting at me and run away when I kick their ass. The blonde said, getting out of the tent. Getting a good look at the teen, Gabriel had to admit he was impressed by how well-toned the mysterious blonde was. Oh, I forgot, Naruto said, slapping the top of his head. I'm Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki. The blonde said with a goofy smile. Great, another Lena. Gabriel sighed, comparing the two. What are you doing here? Or rather, how did you get here? The soldier asked the Jinchuriki. It made no sense for someone like him to be here unless he was some kind of military or he was caught in a plane crash. Given the damage he had done to the Omnic, he was going to rule out the likelihood that he was a soldier himself. I was fighting a woman called Kagaya, who was basically a goddess capable of warping reality. Me and my teammates defeated her, but at the last second she pushed me through one of her portals. Next thing I know, I'm here. Naruto said, looking comically downcast. However, his explanation didn't sit well with Gabriel. You expect me to believe that the Overwatch leader yelled at Naruto, who was taken back by this? A goddess sent you through a portal into the Amazon. Yeah, I'd believe you were a ninja before that. Gabriel stated, scowling at the blonde who he believed was trying to make a fool of him, or he was just insane. It's true. Naruto yelled back in anger. And I can prove it. Nothing else here has chakra. Naruto said, holding his hand out and forming a Rasengan. Now that caught Gabriel's attention. Looking at the blonde's hand, he was extremely intrigued by the blue orb. Looking at the blonde, he saw no machinery that could make something like that possible. He had heard of hard light technology being developed, but that wasn't finished yet and the kid didn't have anything on him. Fascinating. Gabriel said, leaning closer to the Rasengan. Naruto looked proud at how amazing he had made the man. Before he could continue, his radio beeped, signifying him that he was getting a message. "Ray is here," Gabriel said. "Babe, we need you." Anna's voice came over. He could hear gunshots in the background. The sound of torrents and beeps nearly overshadowed her voice. "We underestimated how many there are. Reinhardt's shield is starting to crack and May is wounded. We need backup," Anna said to him. Gabriel grunted as he thought of what he could do. Looking over, he saw the blonde looking at him with a concerned look. "You defeated all those Omnics, right?" he asked the blonde in Japanese. Naruto nodded in response to the question. "My team is in trouble and are about to be overrun. Please, if you can do it again, we will owe you one." Gabriel tried to bargain with the enigma of a blonde. "I'll do it," Naruto said, punching his fist into his palm. The Overwatch agent took a step back when Naruto's body became engulfed in an orange fire. "Let's go," Naruto yelled, picking Gabriel up before the Hispanic American could react. Naruto dashed towards where he remembered the factory being. "With Lena." The British teen heard while reading her comic. The teen walked out of the plane, confused about the sound. It almost sounded like someone was screaming, and it was getting louder. An orange blur of neon orange blurred past her before the sound of screaming started to fade. The shockwave from how fast whatever that was blew her back into the plane. Standing up, the Brit wiped some dust off her. "What the bloody hell was that?" she asked with her hands on her hips. "Oh well. Nothing I can do about it," Lena said, walking back into the beep pit and picking up her comic book. "But the Overwatch team." The group of 6 heard from behind them. Looking back, Anna and Jack saw an orange blur stop right in front of them with their screaming commander in his hands. A few seconds later, Gabriel calmed down and was set down by Naruto, only to nearly throw up. "Never do that again," Gabriel growled at him as he recomposed himself. "That was only half my speed though," Naruto muttered, a bit disappointed, but most of the other didn't understand what he said. "Babe, is this who I think it is?" Anna asked her superior about the glowing man. Gabriel sighed but nodded. Looking at the situation at hand, he could help but agree that the situation was more than dire. Reinhardt's shield was on the verge of breaking, Torbjorn's turrets had been blown to pieces, and May had a bullet wound on her side. Jack was the only currently capable of dealing any counter damage. "Yeah, he's the one destroyed the Omnics in the picture," Gabriel said to Anna. "Also, he only speaks Japanese," Gabriel added. Naruto looked down at the injured woman. Next her was a very thick coat. Naruto couldn't help but blush a bit from how cute she looked. She had a full figure that reminded him a bit of Hinata, if only a bit fuller. She was wearing a sports bra that contained her ample chest. However, he pushed those thoughts back as he looked at her wound. While it was dressed, he could see that she was in pain. Kneeling beside her, Naruto started to take the gaze off her. "What is he doing?" Anna asked Gabriel. She would have asked the blonde himself, but there was the language barrier between them, so she doubted she could do much other than confuse if not insult him. Gabriel translated her question towards the blonde who had gotten the bandages off of May. "Just some 6 paths magic," Naruto responded, looking at his right palm and seeing the Yang seal. Placing his palm on the bullet wound, Naruto started to use his chakra to heal the damage. "Hey, what are you doing?" Anna yelled at him and tried to move him before seeing May's anguished face relaxing. Naruto took his palm off where May was shot, only for the injury to have disappeared. "Impossible. How could he have done that without biotics?" Anna asked Gabriel, who didn't know whether to tell her what the blonde told her or to avoid sounding like a lunatic. "I don't mean to be rude, but I can't hold them back much longer," Reinhardt yelled at his group behind him, a bit frustrated. Anna apologized to the German giant before berating herself for not being able to properly deal with the situation. Anna said to the blonde who helped May back onto her feet. "I know I'm in no position to ask, but can you help us?" the Egyptian sniper asked. Unfortunately, Naruto didn't understand what she had asked him. "He already agreed to," Gabriel said to Anna. It was then that Reinhardt's shield shattered. Naruto was quick to act as his chakra expanded over them in the shape of Kurama's head. The others were amazed by how their new protection easily fended off the hail of bullets and rockets from the Omnics. "Naruto, can you clear a path for us? We need to get inside of the factory to shut it down," Gabriel asked. "Just one question," Naruto said, looking back at the factory before turning back to the recovering members of Overwatch. "Why can't I just blow this place off the map? I have enough power to destroy everything while protecting all of you," Naruto asked the man who sighed. "You can't," May said to the blonde in poor Japanese as she put on her coat once again. With the coat she looked a lot bigger than without it, but it probably offered her a lot of protection. Her Japanese was rather rusty, but she knew a bit. "The core is leaking radiation. If you damage it even further, it could explode, killing us and everything for miles," the Chinese woman explained to him. "The radiation will poison the land for decades. We cannot let that happen to the planet," May told the blonde. "No wonder everything felt tainted," Naruto said, walking toward the front of the head. "Then I'll leave it to you guys. I'll handle these guys and any other ones," Naruto said, holding his hand up, forming a Rasen shuriken. Some of the Omnics seemed to recognize the ability and became backing away from the blonde. Gabriel recognized that it was similar to what the blonde had showed him before. Rasen Shuriken, Naruto yelled as he threw the attack. Naruto's attack cleaved through the first few ranks of bastions before expanding in the middle of the army. Everyone winced as the sound of metal being grinded against and shredded by the attack. The Overwatch team watched in morbid fascination as Naruto cleared out nearly a fourth of all the Omnics with his attack. How was the general thought among them? Naruto just smirked as he placed his fingers in a cross shape. 5 clones appeared around him which jumped out of their fox-shaped shield and engaged the robots. "Go go go," Gabriel said to his team. The group of 6 charged towards the entrance of the factory, along with Naruto who kept them protected with his chakra. "Thanks, Naruto. We'll be back in a bit where we can talk a bit more," Gabriel said as he and his team ran in deeper. Naruto created 2 more clones to send after them just in case. The real Naruto joined his clones against the mechanical enemies. Everything was going great as he cleaved his way through dozens per second. Naruto stopped in his tracks when he felt the ground rumble. The ground behind the Omni tore open as a giant Omnic twice as large as the building. "Well, this is new," Naruto said, staring at the Titan. "Hey Kurama," Naruto thought. What? Kurama asked as it woke up. "Help me out a bit," Naruto said with a wide smirk. Feeling a surge of chakra within him, Naruto's golden chakra grew around him, forming the form a giant fox with 9 tails. The tailed beast roared as it took a step towards the giant of a robot, crushing anything beneath him. But Lena felt the ground shake from her spot inside of the plane. Looking through the windshield, she saw the Titan rising out of the ground. This was her first time seeing one and it was on her first mission. Her eyes bulged when she saw a large fox made out of pure energy arise in front of it. The fox was easily bigger than the Omnic. The Titan opened fire against the colossal fox, unleashing thousands of bullets and rockets which the fox took with even budging from its spot. If anything, the fox seemed to laugh at the mech. Whoa. The fox swung its claw at the Titan. The front of the massive robot exploded when the claw ripped through its metal body. The Titan swung its arm at the fox only for one of its tails to intercept it and rip it off. Lena watched fascinated by the one-sided battle between the 2 titans. The fox reared its fist back and punched straight through the Omnic. Pulling its arm out, it let it fall to the ground. "That was wicked," Lena yelled out. The massive fox let out a roar of triumph over its crushing victory over the Titan. She had to see the battle for herself. She had heard how intense the battles between Overwatch and the Omnic were, but she never thought something like this would happen. Grabbing a pair of submachine guns they had left for her in case of an emergency and rushed to the battlefield. It took her a few minutes of running as fast as she could before she got to the Omni. "Whoa," she yelled when she saw an orange blur zipping across the area, destroying Omnics left and right with absolute ease. She saw him stop for a second to rip apart one of the robots with his bare hands. He almost looked divine given his glowing body and unimaginable fighting prowess. Beep boop. Lena's eyes widened when she heard the beeping from behind her. Turning around, she saw a bastion with its gun aimed at her. Shit, she cursed as she rolled out of the way of its fire and shot back at the Omnic. Her bullets did nothing to the bastion, who started to get closer to her. Hearing both of her guns click, she knew that she had ran out of ammo. Cheers love peace," Lena asked with a nervous smile. The bastion ignored her and reloaded its gun. Before it could fire, the glowing man rammed into its side with a blue sphere in his hand. "Are you okay?" Naruto asked her in Japanese. While Lena didn't know what he said, she took his outstretched hand. "Thanks, love," Lena said, sighing in relief. "Nice outfit." Getting a closer look at her savior, she couldn't help but comment on his outfit. She just loved the color. Looking back at the battle, she noticed that there were identical copies of the man still fighting the Omnics. Her headpiece beeped, signifying that she was getting a call from Jack. "Hello, Lena here." "Lena, we finished the objective, prepare the jet for takeoff," Jack said to his pilot, who paled at the fact that she had left her post to see the battle. "Or would you like to explain what you're doing here?" Jack asked as he and the team walked out of the Omni wearing gas masks, looking a bit worse for wear, while Naruto's clones followed behind them. "Haha." Lena laughed nervously, scratching the back of her head. "Let's just get home first before we start yelling at anyone." Torbjorn grunted as he walked past Lena towards the jet. Well, he was overall fine. He, along with most of the team, was tired from the constant battle they fought inside. "I second that," Reinhardt said, cracking his back and following behind the much shorter man. "Come on, Superboy, we have a lot of paperwork to do," Gabriel said to Naruto, stuck his tongue out at him, but followed the group of 7 back to their plane. "An airship?" Naruto asked as he got into the jet along with the Overwatch agents. Sitting down next to Reinhardt, the blonde saw the lone teen on the team walk to the front of the jet as everyone strapped themselves to their seats. "So Gabriel-san, who exactly are you guys?" the blonde asked the supposed leader of the team. He didn't exactly have anywhere else to go at the moment since he had no idea where he was. "We are called Overwatch." We're an elite international task force created from several nations across the world, created to fight against the Omnic crisis. Once completed our mission, we became a peacekeeping organization. We are funded and operated by the United Nations. Gabriel responded to the blonde's question in Japanese. The blonde nodded, understanding a bit more about these people. We were ordered to take you in for the United Nations to decide what to do with you. The commander continued. What do you mean? Naruto asked, narrowed his eyes on the man. A soft orange aura glowed around Naruto, causing Gabriel to tense. He had seen how powerful the blonde was when he wiped out a wave of Omnics with a single attack. Making him an enemy wouldn't be a good thing for his health. Taking a deep breath to calm his nerves. You are in essence an alien to this world. You have no known country of origin, and you have capabilities above anything the world has seen. They want to make sure that you aren't going to try something against them. Gabriel said to the blonde Uzumaki. He was nervous as well about the United Nations. They hadn't told him their plans for the teen. They had seen the defeated form of the Titan when they left the Omnium. To be able to take down something like that was above what most militaries could do with even some of the best weapons. I see. Naruto sighed. He couldn't argue with that. His abilities had been extraordinary even back in his homeworld. At least back home he was known, here he was a new element in this world. They had no way of knowing if he was some saint or if he was someone like Madara. So what now? Naruto asked. It will take a few days to set everything up, but you will most likely have to meet in front of the UN, which is composed of the leaders of the world's countries. They will have to decide what happens with you. What they say isn't up to me to say. Gabriel responded. Damn it, he was a soldier, not a politician. He wasn't privy to these kinds of things, and there were so many viewpoints around the world he was uncertain what would happen. Until then we have been ordered to keep you at our watch point until they are ready. So Reyes, you never told Yus about what you found out about him. From the way the two of you are talking you seem to know a bit more about him than we do. Jack asked his friend. He had been curious about his fellow blonde since he saw him heal Mei with a touch. Everything Naruto had done was out of this world. How does he do all those things? Look, I don't know anything past what he told me. To me it sounds like lunacy, but given what he can do it may have some merit to it. The current Overwatch leader responded with a heavy sigh. Gabriel explained to the rest of their group what Naruto had told him about how he had arrived in the Amazon. Some like Anna and Mei looked interested while some like Torbjorn looked skeptical about everything he was being told. Besides that, he hasn't told me much about himself other than his name and that he apparently comes from another world. He finished. Naruto, can you tell me a bit about your world? Mei asked, wanting to know more about what kind of world the blonde came from. She had personally felt his power when he healed her. It didn't feel like biotic healing but more natural. As a scientist she wanted to know more about this mysterious place and if there were other people with similar powers. Turning his attention towards the Chinese woman, Naruto decided that it wouldn't hurt to tell them a bit about his homeland. My world was made up of 5 great nations and several smaller ones in between. Each nation was named after the local environment. Some held what we called hidden villages, which were where the ninjas like me lived. The nations were almost always fighting, with war appearing once every few years. Naruto told her, distraught by how his world was. He wished he knew what happened after he arrived here. He could only hope that the nations decided to unite under the banner of peace. That sounds a lot how our world was before the Omnic were created. Mei said sadly. Before the Omnics the countries got along for the most part, but sometimes lines were drawn and things tensed up. The Omnic crisis brought the majority of the world together to survive the attack. A single country can't stand against the forces of the Omnics. Overwatch is a symbol that the world is stronger when they work together. Mei said to the blonde, who was happy that this world had at least found a way to stop some of the fighting between its nations. Well, as close to peace as possible. Gabriel added in. While they agreed that stopping the Omnic crisis was worth working together to stop, in the end they were in it for their own country. The Overwatch leader said to the blonde in his native language. Naruto's head dropped, knowing that to some degree that was true. The only reason why the Shinobi Alliance was made was because Obito threatened the entire world, not just a single country. Sure, they learned to look past their hatred for each other, but it took so many deaths for it to happen. What exactly are the Omnic? Naruto asked them. He knew that they were robot, or at least that's what he thought they were. Technology that advanced didn't even exist in the land of spring. There had to be a reason why they were attacking humanity. Omnics are in essence robots programmed with an advanced artificial intelligence. They were sold to work for humans. Do chores around the house, work, do things that would be hazardous to human life. With the Omnics the world became lax and we were unprepared when they turned against us. Gabriel explained to Naruto. The world had been shocked when the Omnics stormed the cities, killing and destroying everything that they had helped build. Why did they turn on you guys? The blonde Uzumaki asked the 2 Overwatch agents. The rest of the watched on, wishing that they could understand what they were saying. From the look on his face he seemed saddened but also interested to a degree. They were corrupted by something we call God programs. They were special AIs that were able to reprogram lesser ones. God programs were also the ones that changed the Omnium to stop making standard Omnics and started creating bastions like the ones we fought today. The war is nearly over, however. May explained a bit to him. It was only a quick summary, but she wasn't sure how much she was allowed to tell the blonde. Arius Torbjorn yelled at his commander. Ask Aluni if there are more people like him. We all know superhumans exists like you and Jack. For all we know there's an army of people like him wait to invade. The Swedish man reasoned out. Gabriel nodded his head agreeing with the dwarf of a man. While he entertained the idea of the blonde being from some alien world, he didn't rule out the possibility of him being the byproduct of an experiment. Naruto. Gabriel said seriously. Something that if the blonde caught he didn't particularly react to it. Are there more people like you in this world? He asked carefully. While the blonde seemed friendly and socialized easily, he could change on a dime into a killer. And in a closed space like the plane they wouldn't be able to effectively use their guns without being a risk to another. In this world. I can't sense anyone else. Naruto answered. May put a hand on his shoulder, comforting him when she saw the distraught. He knew that he alone in this world. Everyone he knew was trapped in the Tsukiyomi, which hopefully was gone by now, or his team, which had no way of opening Kagaya's portals again as far as he knew. How about in your homeworld? Gabriel asked. Everyone could use chakra with training. Naruto answered. Gabriel's eyes widened at this. If he took the blonde's world, that meant that there could be armies of super-powered soldiers. But not everyone becomes as strong as me. Naruto said confidently, jabbing his thumb into his chest in pride. He was proud to call himself one of the strongest shinobi that the ninja world had ever seen. It wasn't arrogance, but rather it was a fact. The 5 Kages couldn't defeat Madara, yet he and Sasuke were able to keep him on his toes. Well, that's a relief. The UN would have a heart attack if that weren't the case. Gabriel said in Japanese before looking over at the rest of his team, which was waiting for any sort of information about the enigmatic blonde. I need to speak with me team. Gabriel said to the blonde before turning to the rest of his team to debrief them on what he had learned from his talk with the blonde Uzumaki, who continued to talk to May. After the jet landed in Watchpoint based in Switzerland, the team lead Naruto out of the flying vehicle and into their headquarters. Naruto saw a large number of people moving around the base doing a multitude of activities. He saw Gabriel and Jack being greeted by some men. He couldn't understand what they were saying, but from the way the man looked at him, it had to involve him somehow. The rest of the team went their separate ways after they arrived, leaving him with Gabriel and Jack, who occasionally glanced at him while talking. Sighing, Naruto took a seat near one of the tables and started to look at the 3D display of the planet. It looked nothing like what he remembers. It only solidified his situation in another world. You look bored, love. The blonde heard as the girl he had saved walked up behind him and put a glass of water in front of him. Huh? Naruto asked, not being able to understand her language. Oh yeah, language barrier. Lena sighed, a bit disappointed not being able to talk to the whiskered blonde. She wanted to know more about his wicked powers which he used against the Omnics. Anyways, thanks for the save back there. Name's Lena Oxton. Lena said, pointing at herself. Sorry to cut things short, Lena, but I need Naruto to come with me. The American soldier said to the 2 teens. Jack led Naruto away from Lena and down a few levels into a lightly furnished room with metallic walls and 2 beds. One of the beds had a metal base compared to the wooden beds he was used to, while the other one was just a simple air mattress. Looking around, Naruto saw jars of peanut butter next to one of the beds. You'll stay here for a few days until the United Nations decided what they want to do with you. Just try not to overreact when you see your temporary roommate. Gabe said as he and Jack left the blonde. Deciding to look around the room, Naruto went over to one. On top of the desks was a piece of technology that looked alien to the blonde from how complex they were. You'll be staying here until the United Nations meets in 3 days. Just try not to freak out when you see your roommate. Gabriel said as he and Jack left. Try not to freak out? Naruto questioned as he started to look around the room. On the desk, next to all the pieces of machinery, was a picture of a man in a white coat, smiling next to a gorilla child wearing glasses. Looking over at the peanut butter jars, Naruto couldn't help but think what type of person could eat so much of the stuff. The door behind him opened as a large gorilla wearing white mechanical armor. Naruto noticed that it was wearing the same glasses as the one in the picture. Oh, hello. The gorilla said in Japanese, although he sounded a bit. You must be my new roommate. Sorry about the mess, I didn't know until a bit ago. The gorilla said to the blonde, who smiled. Don't worry about it. You're the one who was forced to babysit me, you know. The blonde said, grinning at the large ape. The gorilla was surprised that the teen didn't react like most would when they met a talking gorilla. Usually they were less accepting, some to the point where they would call him a freak. You're taking me being a primate pretty well. My name is Winston, by the way. The gorilla said, moving over to his bed and jumping on. Naruto smiled and sat on the mattress they brought for him. He was happy that he at least had someone who was easy to talk to. Well, I can't say you're the first one. Naruto said, laughing, but Winston was more surprised that the blonde had met another talking ape in the past. I've met dozens of talking animals in the past. It was quite common back home. Naruto added as he laid on his bed. As a scientist, Winston was interested in that fact. If that was true and the blonde was born in some other world like his superiors told him, then the blonde could be the discovery of a lifetime. Fascinating. What types of animals were they? How did they live? Winston asked Naruto. He was highly interested in learning about what other sentient animals were like. Did they live among the humans? Or were they separated from society? He had already heard how he healed May's bullet wound with a touch from his palm. It was almost comedic how Angela reacted when she saw the hole in May's jacket, only to find out that someone had healed her. Winston mused to himself. The blonde was a treasure trove of data that was impossible to get in their world. Well, nearly all of them were called summons. We made contracts with them to help us in battle. They ranged from anything from cats to giant toads. I was able to summon toads. Naruto answered the ape's question. He had tried summoning while on the plane only for the seal to appear, but nothing came out. Hey, is there a library in here? Naruto asked Winston, who was deep in thought about what he had just learned. Yes. Winston said, smiling. Not many people in Overwatch were interested in the wealth of knowledge that they had in the base. They had collected books from across the world which simply collected dust. What do you want to learn about? Winston asked, getting off his bed along with Naruto, who followed after the gorilla. I want to learn how to speak the language everyone here seems to use. It sucks not knowing what people are saying, you know. The blonde told Winston, who nodded in understanding. Japanese wasn't exactly a common language in the world compared to the widely used English. It would certainly benefit everyone if they could speak to the blonde without someone to translate everything he said. As they arrived, they saw Anna quietly reading a book. Ah, Winston, what book are you looking for today? The Egyptian woman asked the armored gorilla who stood next to Naruto. I'm not here for myself per se. Winston responded as he led the blonde towards where Anna was sitting. Naruto was a bit amazed by the sheer number of books they had. Now he wasn't really one for studying, but he could tell that a lot of work went into building this place. My new friend here wants to learn how to speak English, so I figured I could help him out. A genetically modified gorilla told the sniper. Well, I might as well help. Anna said, closing her book. 4 days later. Naruto slumped onto his bed. He had just met with the United Nations, and to say it was hectic was putting it mildly. Several countries tried to claim him for themselves, particularly Japan, who cited that since he spoke Japanese, he must have been of Japanese descent. And after hours of bickering and arguing back and forth, it was Jack who suggested that Naruto stayed unaffiliated to any specific nation while giving him a position in Overwatch. Most world leaders agreed to this as it wouldn't tip the balance of power too much, and they could keep an eye on him if he were part of their strike force. The Japanese leader had offered him a trip to Japan after he had better settle into the world. As to not be rude, Jack had accepted on his behalf. Long day? Winston asked as he walked into the room. I didn't think there were so many countries. Naruto muttered into a pillow. The room had rows and rows of world leaders. It was much more than the 5 Kage he was used to. In the end, I got strong-armed into joining you guys or be labeled an international threat. Naruto continued. Well, welcome to the family then. Winston said, smiling at the blonde as he sat down on his own bed. How is your English going? The gorilla asked Naruto. I've been getting better. Naruto responded in English, though he did still have a Japanese accent, and he had to speak slowly to make sure he articulated everything. It was thanks to dozens of shadow clones and the guidance of some of the Overwatch members he had made near unimaginable strides in learning the language. It's not fair. Winston sighed, knowing how the blonde had gotten this far in such a short amount of time. Naruto had explained to him how anything that a clone learned he would also learn. This meant that if he produced a massive amount of his shadow clones, then he could learn things that could take months and days if he tried hard enough. He could only imagine how much progress he could make if he had that ability. Jack told me to take you to see Angela in the medical bay while she's here. Don't worry, she's pretty nice. Winston said to Naruto, who sighed but accepted it. Hey Kurama, what do you think would happen if I tried to take over the world? Naruto asked the monstrous fox that reside inside of his body. Becoming a supervillain wasn't exactly the first thing on his to-do list, but who knows. Kurama opened one of his eyes when he heard his host's question. Personally, I think you would scare the hell out of the world at first, then chicken out when you realize that you would have to kill millions of innocent people. I doubt some people would even think you're even evil. Kurama responded, much to Naruto's annoyance. I can be evil. Naruto yelled back at the fox, who just laughed at his Jinchuriki. What are you thinking about? Winston asked his roommate. He noticed that the blonde went silent for a bit and got concerned for him. Personally, he liked the blonde. He treated him like a normal person instead of a freak or an animal. When he heard that the UN had drafted the blonde into Overwatch, he was happy since he already saw Naruto as a friend. Taking over the world. Naruto responded with no emotion in his voice, causing Winston nearly fall off his bed and onto the blonde. Please tell me you're joking?" the genius gorilla asked nervously. He didn't really want to think about the possibility of fighting the shinobi. "Of course, I am." Naruto laughed out. "You and Lena would get along like peas in a pod." The gorilla laughed at the blonde. "Come on, we have to get you examined. I wonder if this is what it's like having a little brother." Winston asked himself as he pulled Naruto from his bed and onto his feet. Naruto grumbled about annoying gorillas. "Ugh, I hate doctors." Naruto yelled as he walked next to Winston, who shook his head. As they walked, some of the less prominent members of the growing strike force looked at them. They were by far the two most peculiar members in the group. One was a genetically modified gorilla capable of human speech and understanding, while the other one was from an alternate dimension. "Winston." The two turned around as the beatnik pilot hooked her arm around the gorilla's neck. "I haven't seen you the last few days," Lena said, pouting as she looked over at the ninja, who was just watching on with an amused smile on his face. "Or am I being replaced by the new guy already?" "Gotta say I'm pretty gutted," the pilot from Britain asked. Winston stuttered, not knowing how to respond to his friend. "I'm just pulling your chain, big guy." "Hello, my name is Naruto Uzumaki," Naruto said in slightly broken English. Lena was a bit shocked to see the blonde speaking some of her language already, but took it in stride. The Londoner joined the two in the walk towards the medical bay to finally be able to speak with her savior. She could have sworn that her life flashed before her eyes when that bastion aimed its gun at her. She was jealous of people Naruto, Jack, and Gabriel who could fight while she was stuck piloting. Granted, she loved it, but sometimes she wished she could get in on some of the action. "Oh, yay, we never really introduced ourselves. Lena Oxton, piloting extraordinaire at your service, love." The teen pilot introduced herself with a goofy grin on her face. The two broke out into laughter. The trio entered the medical bay, where a beautiful young woman with platinum blonde hair and light blue eyes. The right side of blemish-free face was covered by a large bang, while most her hair was tied up into a bun. She had a fit figure like Lena, though a bit more matured. She wore a doctor's coat and a black skirt that came down to her knees. "Hey Angela," Lena yelled as the three walked in. The woman, now identified as Angela, was working with a tank filled with what to Naruto looked like golden chakra, but he could feel that it wasn't. The woman smiled softly as she stood up from her desk and walked over to the three. Naruto couldn't help but avert his eyes a bit when she turned towards him. "So you're the one who healed May. I got to say I'm impressed." There was no scar tissue or evidence that she had taken any damage in the first place. "My name is Angela Ziegler," she introduced herself. Like Lena, she had a different accent from some of the other people when she spoke English. Now that he thought about, everyone spoke a bit differently. I guess that's their individual cultures mixing in. Naruto thought to himself. It was good to know that so many people from around the world could work together like this. "I'm Naruto Uzumaki, genin from Konoha," Naruto said, shaking her hand. "I'm going to need the two of you to leave now. I cannot have you two playing around here," Angela said, kicking Lena and Winston of her medical room. Lena pouted and waved at the blonde ninja before the door closed behind them. "Sorry if I seemed rude, but I value my patient's privacy. I have you answer for me a few questions if that's fine with you," Angela said, pulling out some papers. Angela instructed Naruto as he filled in some information on himself. "Naruto, while we're doing this, could you please tell me any other achievements you've had in the medical field?" the Swiss woman asked her fellow blonde. She had talked with Winston about the blonde during the time that he was meeting with the United Nations. Maybe he could help her with her research into biotics. "Well, I wasn't really a medic back home," Naruto admitted sheepishly. "I was more of a frontlines type of person than I was a healer. But during the war, one awoke a special power that allowed me to give my sensei back his eye," Naruto told her. Besides that, he hadn't used it much besides keeping Obito alive after he had the 10 tails removed from his body. "You gave him back his eye?" Angela said, shocked. "You mean to say that you grew him a new eye? That's amazing. How did you do it?" the medical expert asked Naruto. The shinobi could tell that she was very serious about her profession. Naruto said as he tried to think of the right words to describe his abilities. "It's a bit complicated. I would need to explain more about my abilities than I'm comfortable with right now," the blonde told the doctor. Angela looked a bit disappointed but accepted his answer anyways. He was still getting used to everything, and his language skills were currently hindered by the fact that he didn't know how to fully speak the language. It would take a while, Naruto said, feeling bad when he saw her disappointed face. "Maybe we can talk about it some other time?" Angela asked the blonde. Naruto thought about it for a second before agreeing. The blonde medic seemed elated when the Uzumaki agreed to talk to her about his healing abilities. "Thank you, I look forward to discussing it with you, Naruto." Medic to medic. Angela said before noticing that Naruto had finished the form. "You said you were in the front lines during the war. How young were you when you became a soldier?" the blonde asked the Jinchuriki. "I guess I was around 12 when I became a shinobi." Naruto answered honestly. It was common for some to join the military at that age back in his world. Some like Kakashi and Itachi began even earlier. Kakashi had only been 5 years old when he became a genin due to his skill. She couldn't help but drop her clipboard. "You were a child soldier," Angela said softly looking at the blonde in front of her. She had assumed he had started at a young age due to his battling prowess, but that was almost too much to wrap her head around. "And your parents approved of that?" she asked him. Where were his parents in all this? Or was this simply the culture they lived in? "My parents," Naruto started with a sad smile. "They died the day I was born protecting me," Naruto admitted. Angela gasped, covering her mouth before looking apologetically at her fellow blonde. She never meant to bring up bad memories. She herself had her own. Ones that she hated thinking about but were always in her head. "But I know they loved me even after they died. That's why I fight. I fight because I want to make a world where everyone understands each other. Where there is no more war and no child has to lose their loved ones. In the end, my ultimate goal is to bring peace to the world," Naruto said passionately. It was the will that he had inherited from everyone in his past. "That's a wonderful dream," Angela said smiling. "I too lost my parents when I was young to war. It's why I became a medic. I don't want anyone else to suffer like I did," the doctor told the blonde. She did feel some kinship with the shinobi. Like her, he had lost his parents young, even younger than herself, and like her, he wanted peace. "Thank you," Naruto said. "I'm sure that if your parents were alive they would be proud of you," Naruto said, earning a grateful smile from the Swiss woman. "We should continue. I'm sure Jack and Gabriel have a lot of things for you to do," Angela said, getting back on task. "Now I'm going to listen to your heart. Please take off your shirt." Naruto nodded and removed the dress shirt he borrowed. Angela blushed slightly but stayed professional when she saw Naruto's physique. She could tell from sight alone that Naruto had been training since a young age. He was more developed muscularly than most members of Overwatch, but it wasn't to the point where he had massive bulk. He was almost like a younger but more defined Jack. Not bad, Angela thought as she pressed her stethoscope against Naruto's chest and began her tests on him. "Are you sure you're human?" the young woman asked Naruto with an amused smile. She had just finished all her examinations on him. He was the epitome of human health. She hadn't even performed a blood test on him, and he already outclassed any man she had ever met before. He outperformed even Jack and Gabriel by a mile. "As far as I know," Naruto responded, watching Angela file the results of his examination. Looking on her desk, he saw the container she had been working with before. Translucent gold energy swirled around the container. Walking over to it, he placed his palm against the glass. He was surprised when it synchronized with his chakra. The container started to glow a blinding gold, which caught Angela's immediate attention. The medic rushed over to Naruto and watched as the biotics moved towards the palm of his hand, being only contained by the carbon glass that held it. "I have never seen them react like this," the healer muttered, shielding her eyes. "Stay like that," she ordered her fellow blonde as she moved to her computer and rapidly typed and clicked. Angela watched as her computer scanned the biotics inside of the container. "Incredible," she muttered. Naruto moved his hand and watched as the swirling energy moved with it. Naruto noticed that whatever this stuff was, they were releasing something like yang chakra. Just like this world's nature energy, it just seemed weaker than of the energies from his world. It was likely from it being synthetically made by machines. "It's like a weaker version of yang chakra," Naruto said as toyed around a bit more. "This is amazing, Angela," the blonde complimented. She had managed to replicate the effects of yang chakra without even knowing what it was. He was sure that Tsunade and Sakura would go crazy to try and get her hands on this if it worked correctly. Angela clasped Naruto's hand. "Can you please come back here tomorrow? Your input could be revolutionary to my research for saving the lives of thousands," Angela requested with a pleading look in her eyes. Naruto could see the determination in her eyes to further her medical research. "Of course, I'd be happy to help," Naruto agreed. Naruto walked down the halls of the Overwatch base down to the medical bay. He had promised Angela that he would try and help her with her research and healing. It was a noble cause to want to heal the sick and injured. Beside him was Lena, who he learned was going to test drive a special plane jet for Overwatch, which according to Winston, could warp through time and space. Of course, it was still finishing up development, so it would be a few months before the big test. "I can't wait for it. I'm going to be the first human to travel through space and time," she said, hooking her arm around Naruto. "Think about it. You guys in trouble halfway across the world, and just when you think you're about to lose I arrive with backup and say cheers love, the cavalry's here. What do you think Naruto? Cool, right? Lena asked the blonde. Well, I don't know much about planes to be honest. But I admit that being able to teleport across the world would be very useful. Naruto said, thinking of the possibilities of anyone being able to move across the world in seconds. It could help them win battles with less casualties by allowing quick transportation of the injured. But he could also see how it would do wrong if in the wrong hands. As for the saying, it would be best for him not to comment. It reminds me of my father. Naruto mentioned. Huh? Lena said, going in front of him. What do you mean love? She asked him, now curious. The blonde was an endless bag of surprises, and so far, she was enjoying them. From being able to heal her friend to getting along with Winston. Also, the fact that he was near her age was a huge plus. This was also the first time he mentioned his family. My father could teleport using Fuinjutsu. Naruto told her, pulling out the kunai Minato had given him. Using these as a beacon, he could move across the battlefield so fast people only saw his blonde hair for an instant before he vanished. I know a bit of Fuinjutsu, but I'm nowhere near his level. With this he was able to single-handedly topple platoons of enemy shinobi. Naruto explained his father's way of teleporting. He wished he had learned more about time-space ninjutsu and Fuinjutsu when he was younger. Whoa. You got a pretty badass dad, Naru. I can't believe people like you guys exist somewhere. Lena exclaimed with stars in her eyes. Naruto laughed by how impressed she was by their abilities. He couldn't help but imagine what she would have said if she saw his battles with Madara and Kagaya. By the way, where are you stationed? I know that the UN can't wait to try and use you. Old wankers. Lena said, frowning. I could always just wipe them out. Naruto said, looking up with a smirk on his face before looking at Lena, giving her a sinister look as an orange aura rose from his skin. I could wipe out everyone. He said creepily. Lena took a few steps back before hearing the blonde break out in laughter. I'm joking. I know that I could do that, but I don't want to kill people needlessly. The world is in relative peace now besides the Omnics. Me taking sides or becoming aggressive could tear that apart. How many people would be killed trying to fight me? How many would stab their allies in the back to get in my favor? I don't want that. Naruto told her. Lena smiled at that. The blonde had the power to do what he wished and the world could do nothing to stop him. Yet he decided to follow their laws for their own salvation. Wonderfully said love. It's nice knowing that there are people like you. So many choose to do what they bloody want without a care. Thank you he. The British teen said to Naruto, who smiled gratefully. I do it because people like you and Angela exist, Lena. Naruto admitted, also thinking back at his friends from back home. He didn't know when or if he would ever be able to see them again now. He could only hope they were okay now that Kagaya was defeated and sealed. Lena blushed a bit but smiled nonetheless at the energetic blonde. I don't like killing. Back home it was something everyone accepted as a part of life. Me and my godfather wanted to change that. To make it so that people could hear and understand each other. He say? I would like that too. Lena said, not really knowing what the world was like before the Omnic declared war. But she knew the history of humanity. One filled with war and death. Even before the crisis, nations were at work to strengthen themselves, such as the experiments that made Jack and Gabriel into who they were today. All right. Lena yelled, spooking Naruto a bit. I promise that I will work for peace and justice as well, love. Lena declared. Thanks, Naruto said, messing rubbing the top of the girl's hair. The British teen playfully slapped his hand away before noticing a bangful between her eyes. The blonde Uzumaki laughed at her as she blew upwards to move the strand back into place. Jack said I would head out on a mission soon with Anna and Torbjorn. He just need to get some things straightened out for me. Straightened out? What is that supposing to mean? The young pilot asked. As far as she knew, the United Nations had already accepted Naruto as a member of Overwatch. She felt bad that no country was willing, or rather was allowed, to take the blonde teen and due to his powers. She had a home to go back to in London with her mum and pop. She had friends all over the world. He had no one in this world. Lena though feeling bad for the blonde. Hey Naruto. Did you have friends back home? What were they like? Lena asked. My friends? Yeah, I had a lot of them back home. Naruto said, thinking back to the group he had graduated with and everyone he had met along the way. Everyone was different in their own way. Hell, some tried to kill me at one point or another. My friend Shikamaru was a freaking genius, but was a lazy bastard. And Choji could eat an entire restaurant into the ground, Naruto told her. Kill you? Lena asked, shocked that the blonde could call someone who attempted to murder him a friend. Naruto nodded as if it were a normal thing for him. Your world must be bloody insane. Lena said under her breath. So, everyone had powers like you, love? The British woman asked her new friend. Well, not everyone, but everyone had some potential if they trained enough. A friend of mine, Lee, had no potential in ninjutsu, but he trained his body to the point where he didn't need it. Naruto said, thinking back at his strange yet kind friend. Lee and Guy were the epitome of hard work. Both came from the bottom with no talent in ninjutsu, yet they trained to the point where he heard that Guy nearly killed Madara while going all out. Was there anyone you were romantically involved? Lena asked, feeling a bit awkwardly. It kind of popped into her head that it was possible that her new friend could have had someone important to him which he may never see again. Sorry if it's a bit personal. Lena added when Naruto gave her an almost confused look. Don't worry about it. One of my friends did confess to me, but I never got to give her a straight answer. Naruto said, remembering how Hinata interfered with his battle against Nagato and declared her love for him before nearly being killed. With everything going on at that time, I never got a chance to sit down with her and talk. Who knows? Naruto continued, wondering what would have happened between him and Hinata if he had stayed in his homeworld. Ah. Lena said, feeling a bit guilty for bringing up his friends. She could tell by how much Naruto was currently talking about them that they were very important to him. I'm sorry if I brought up raw topic. The British teen apologized to the blonde who waved it off. I miss them. I really do, but I can't just spend all my time sulking around, now can I? Naruto asked, smiling slightly. Lena nodded, understanding his point. So, what about you, Lena? The Uzumaki asked, moving the topic away from him to the English pilot. He was enjoying his talk with her. It did help him get used to living and working with people he didn't know. A lot of the other male members were either soldiers and didn't talk much to him or much older than him. Yeah, I have my mum and pop back home in London. I also have my best friend Emily who I talk to all the time. Lena responded to the blonde who nodded. I also have everyone in Overwatch from Jack to you. I know that if anything ever happened, Overwatch has my back. She said confidently as they opened the door to Angela's office. The blonde woman was typing rapidly on her computer. In front of her was a white set of armor with wings. Hiya, Angela. Naruto said, announcing their presence to the medic. Angela stopped typing and turned to the two of them. The two were surprised by how stressed she looked, yet still she managed to give them a smile. What happened? The male blonde asked, walking up to her with a concerned look on his face. Angela's shoulders slumped as she leaned back into her chair. Jack and Torbjorn want me to help them build a biotic rifle for long-range healing. She said, nearly failing to hold back a growl on her part, showing how annoyed she was by this new order. I helped create biotic technology to heal people, not to be weaponized. Torbjorn assured me that it would only be used to heal, but I'm not sure if it will one day be used for the very thing I'm trying to fix. Angela said. Biotics can be used to hurt people. Lena asked, not really knowing a lot about the subject, other than that it was a way to rapidly heal someone. Naruto thought back to how he had used Yang Chakra as a weapon himself. Granted, he really didn't have a choice since they needed to beat Kaguya. Biotics can be programmed to heal people, but they can also be used to rapidly kill cells if they were to come in contact with an enemy instead of an ally. Angela explained to them. I trust Torbjorn, but I just can't help but feel like this is just one step closer to it being militarized. She admitted to the two of them. She never wanted her creations to be used to kill people for war. It went against everything that she believed in. I'm sure it'll be fine. Just talk to them and tell them how you feel about it, love. Lena reassured, placing a hand on the older woman's shoulder. Angela smiled at the gesture from the British teen. By the way, what's this thing? She asked, inspecting the winged armor. It looked to be a lot lighter than the normal armor Anna and Jack wore. It was made into the mold of a woman. Spotting the Swiss emblem on it. No way, this is for you. Lena yelled. Naruto looked over at Angela, who let out a dry chuckle. You're smarter than you look, Lena. She said, causing the Brit to pout at the subtle jab at her. This is the Valkyrie suit. I made it so that I could go on missions with other agents so I could heal on the spot. It's not perfect yet and some features don't work properly, but Torbjorn has offered a lot of help. She told them. Going into battle wasn't at the top of her list of things to do, but too many times had agents or civilians been injured on the field and have no treatment until it was too late. Whoa. I never thought I'd see you out there. Lena said, silently wishing she could join in. As a pilot, she didn't have the chance to actively join in on missions besides flying people around. The exception being her latest one in Brazil, where she met her new friend. Even then, she was almost killed by an Omnic for running into battle with nothing but a gun. Healing on the battlefield is a lifesaver, but just stay safe out there. Naruto said, glad that Angela was willing to go out into battle, but held concerns for her safety. As far as he knew, she wasn't a soldier or had combat experience. One of my friends and teammates back home, Sakura, was one, and she saved my life more than once. The blonde said, remembering how Sakura kept him alive in Obito's dimension after he had the QP extracted. Then maybe one day I'll be the one saving your life. The Swiss woman joked. Truth be told, she was anxious about going on missions, but she knew that it was a step she would need to take in order to save more lives. Once it's done it will work in conjunction with a special staff I've created that creates a stream of biotics that will heal whoever I'm linked to. The armor's wings will allow me to glide to anyone nearby and float when I fall from a high place. She explained to the two of them. I'm also working on another project with biotics that will revolutionize the medical field. What is it? Naruto asked, interested in what this project could be. It's still too early for me to tell if this is even possible, but I was wondering. Angela said, standing up and picking up a glowing container and handed it to Naruto. The two women watched as its glow intensified. I have been theorizing that maybe if I could increase the capabilities of the biotics in a quick burst, then maybe I could revive those who have recently perished. The medic said to the blonde, who looked down at the biotics in his hand. Her excitement waned a bit when she saw the conflicted look on her fellow blonde's face. Is something the matter? She asked. Naruto sighed as he handed her the container. The glow died a few moments after it left his hand. I have a mixed history with reanimation. Naruto admitted, remembering how they had both a good and bad relationship with such jutsu. Orochimaru had used his reanimation jutsu to help him kill the third Hokage, and Kabuto used it to create an army for the Akatsuki. However, Orochimaru had also used it to bring back the past Hokage, to help Sasuke and in the war. Nagato had used his Rin Tensei to revive his village, but that same jutsu was what fully brought back Madara. What do you mean? Angela questioned. To her it was a wonderful idea being able to bring back those who didn't have a chance to be brought to a hospital in time, but she was open to criticism, especially if it was from someone who had seen something similar firsthand. I guess the easiest way to put it is that it depends on who uses it, you know. The blonde said, which was something that Angela couldn't help but agree with Naruto. It was the same argument she had about her biotics. In her hand she would use them to heal like she designed them to. However, anyone else could use them to kill if they felt like it. I've seen it used for both good and evil. I want to trust you. But I don't know. I understand. Angela told him, knowing how he felt. Maybe one day you'll trust me enough to help me research. She said to him. Naruto was glad that she understood how he felt. I can see it now. Lena said, hooking her right arm around Angela and moving her left hand up as if presenting something. Overwatch scientist causes zombie apocalypse. The world is fucky, she said in a poor attempt of an announcer voice before breaking out into giggles. Well, that is a possibility. Angela admitted, tapping her chin in interest. The teen paused, looking at the medic with wide eyes. I was just joking. She said with an amused look on her face. Lena let out a sigh of relief, much to their amusement. Lena pouted at having her joke bounced back at her, but couldn't help but admit it was a good comeback. I'll help out with simple healing. But I need some time before I think about reviving. Naruto told the Swiss woman, who was happy that he was still willing to help even if it wasn't to the degree she had initially wanted. 4 hours later. Come on, love, I thought you were a ninja. Lena asked, laughing at him as she beat him in a video game. It was an older video game based around ninjas which Naruto was ironically losing badly in. After he had helped Angela a bit, Lena had asked him if he wanted to play a game, which he agreed to, since he really had nothing to do but study his English and sit around in the base. Well, that makes it Lena 10, Naruto's hero. She taunted. You act like I played this before. Naruto deadpan, never having touched a video game before. An alarm was sounded. Emergency. Agents Naruto Uzumaki and Torbjorn Lindholm, please report to the meeting room. Oh, and I was having fun winning. Lena said, smirking at the blonde, who gave her a light glare as he stood up and placed the controller on a table. Lena stood up and cracked her back a bit. Well, I'm going to take a shower then. Good luck out there, try not to get killed. She told him. I'll try not. Naruto said before leaving the room. Naruto ran into the shorter blonde on his way to the meeting. Hey Torbs. Naruto greeted as he walked alongside the Swedish man. I'm doing just dandy. He said, clearly a bit annoyed by being called on such short notice. I was in the middle of tending to my babies before they called me. He told the younger man, who nodded. He had come to learn that the engineer treated his creations as if they were his own children at times. But it must be something big. Torbjorn admitted grimly, to which Naruto nodded. The two walked in to find Jack and Anna waiting for them with a third person who Naruto hadn't met before. He was a rough-looking man around the same age as Angela, maybe a bit older, with slightly tanned skin and some stubble. To Naruto he was dressed weirdly, but the other members recognized a cowboy outfit with a red veil over his right side which covered his mechanical arm. So this is the new guy around the block. Name's McCree. Jesse McCree. Nice to meet y'all. He said to Naruto. Thanks for coming so quickly. Jack said before pulling up a map of a place Naruto didn't recognize, but he could see that there was a village and a lot of snow in the area. As he has already introduced himself, McCree is a member of Gabriel's section of Overwatch called Blackwatch. He'll be going with the two of you on your mission. The middle-aged blonde told them. This is a village in Siberia that has recently been under attack by the remains of the Omnic in that area. So far it's only some light fighting, but the village has become worried that sooner or later they may be raided by them. Anna said, pulling up an image of a battle between a few villagers and a bastion. Naruto watched as one of the people was gunned down the robot's hail of bullets. So far they've lost around 20 people to them. One of their scouts noticed that group of 40 had gathered 3 miles from the village, with the possibility of more elsewhere. The Omnic group has been closing in on them bit by bit every day. Torbjorn, we're trusting you to set up an automated defense to help them survive the attack and any other ones in the future, and as the leader of the mission. McCree, you already know your part for Gabe. Anna said before looking at their newest member. Naruto, your part is to destroy the invading group without causing too much damage to the area. Please know that the entire world will be watching you. She told him firmly. Jack sighed, knowing what Anna was trying to tell the youngest blonde in the room. What he did on this mission would decide how the world would view him. He knew that many would see him as a hero among heroes. Maybe even more. But others would see him as a danger to themselves and the world. The UN had trusted them with him, but he knew that if the blonde truly wanted to leave, the world would have to comply or be brought into a fight that they not win without sending every single ounce of power they had. You guys will be leaving in an hour. Make sure you get ready. I understand and I'll do my best. Naruto said confidently. Come on Superboy, I have some gear for ye. Can't have you running around the world looking like you're going on vacation. Torbjorn said, pulling Naruto with him to the armory. Naruto looked down at his outfit and admitted that he didn't exactly give off the aura of a soldier. Once they reached the armory, Torbjorn led him to a human-shaped stand that displayed the outfit for the blonde. Overall it was very much like Jack's outfit, only without the eyepiece. It's not much, but at least people will be able to distinguish you from the masses. Once we have a bit more time, I'll get around to making you something more personalized if you prefer. Torbjorn told Naruto, who nodded before taking the outfit to get ready. Hey Torby. McCree said, walking up to the older Overwatch member. Is it true about what happened in Brazil? The cowboy asked, wanting to confirm what he had been told about the new member. The Swede nodded a bit reluctantly. He had doubted the man's powers at first, but knew he couldn't deny them. After seeing several copies of him walking around, he decided it would be less of a headache to accept it. I reckon Gabe will want him to join Blackwatch. Don't know how that will sit with all Jack. Jesse said as Naruto walked back towards them in his new gear. Not bad, newbie. Well, I'll see y'all in an hour. I need to grab some ammo. He said before leaving the two blondes to themselves. Torbjorn sighed before he walked towards where he kept the supplies he needed for the turrets he could build. Siberia. The 3 members of Overwatch stepped of their jet and were met with a huge crowd of people from the village as they walked towards the person who seemed to oversee the village. Thank you all for responding to our call for aid, my friend. The major of the town said to 3 with a heavy Russian accent. Naruto looked around at the people who had gathered, each one was looking at them in awe and hope. No problem. Torbjorn responded before turning to Naruto and McCree, who stood behind him. I'm going to go scout out some good locations to put up some defenses. The 2 of you go find us a place to stay while we're here. It'll take even me a few days to get this place omnic proof. The shorter man told the 2. Well, come on partner. We have task to do. McCree said to the blonde, who sighed and walked after the cowboy. Naruto was thankful for the outfit Torbjorn had given him before they left their base. The weather in the area reminded the shinobi of the land of snow. With every step, there was a fresh crunch from the snow. We have enough supplies to last us a week before we need to restock. Commander Reyes asked me to give this to you. Jesse said, handing a cell phone over to Naruto. You can use this to contact any member of the team. Just don't go crazy with it, you hear me? Yeah. Naruto said, uncaringly pocketing the device. So any clues on where we could rent a place? I can't read anything. Naruto said, looking at the symbols on the signs and not being able to make heads or tails of it. Naruto wiped some snow off his coat and looked over at McCree, who was trying his best to interpret the meaning. Neither can I, McCree said slowly as he realized the situation they had found themselves in. Well, shoot. I reckon we'll just have to ask the people and hope they speak English. Jesse said, looking around for anyone who could help them out. Tarnation. We'll just have to wait for Torbs to come back. McCree said, sighing. He had spent over an hour trying to find someone who could speak either English or Japanese, only to come out empty-handed. Damn, this place is cold. The cowboy muttered as the 2 walked through the streets of the village. What are you 2 doing? Torbjorn yelled as he walked up to the 2 younger members. I thought I told you to find a place to stay. We don't have a base here, so unless you like sleeping in the snow. The short Swede yelled at the 2. Well, excuse me if neither of us partner can speak the damn language. McCree responded sarcastically. Come on, I'll ask the mayor for a suggestion. Torby said. With the mayor's help, the 3 could get a room in a small inn near the market area. I feel like a new man. McCree said as he walked out of the shower. Torbjorn was polishing his tools by his bed while Naruto was looking out the window at the Russian village. Best get to know him. Might be working with him again if Gabe has his way. Jesse thought, walking over to the blonde. Hey there. Oh hey. Naruto responded as the cowboy-styled hero sat beside him. The people here are scared. They feel as if they may die any day now from an attack. Naruto said, remembering the feeling everyone was giving off. But when they looked at them, even when he couldn't understand them, were filled with hope. I see. It's a damn shame. Jesse said, looking at how some people moved about, twitching at times from the stress of the constant threat. But that why you here? Gabe wouldn't stop talking about what he saw in Brazil. Tell me, has Jack ever told you about Black Watch? He asked the blonde, who looked at him with a puzzled look. I'll take that as a no. Black Watch is Overwatch's covert division. The public ain't aware of our existence. We do all the dirty deeds that Overwatch can't do in the public eye. McCree explained to the blonde what his section of Overwatch was like. The more he heard from McCree, the more Naruto felt as if he had heard something similar before. Black Ops. Naruto muttered to himself. It reminded him a bit of what Sai told him the root section of the Anbu was like. So what does that have to do with me? The blonde Uzumaki asked the cowboy. Babe wants to recruit ya. I just wanted to tell you about it, partner. In the end the choice falls on you. McCree told Naruto, who nodded. Torbjorn watched on at the two continue to talk among themselves about a range of topics. So, you ain't have a gun. Damn, I thought I was tough. McCree laughed at the thought of having to fight against an Omnic with his bare hands and a knife. It's not that hard. Naruto smirking. Alright, enough lazing around. Torbjorn said, getting off his bed. Naruto, you go and scout the area past the village border. McCree, you have a mission to do for Gabriel, get going. The Swedish engineer said to the two, who sighed but understood that they had a job to do. Naruto opened the window and jumped out, much to the surprise of the people below on the streets. I like his style. Jesse said, following the blonde and landing beside his fellow agent. Well, I'll be seeing you around, Naruto. He said before walking off into the crowd. To the people watching the two, it looked as if Naruto had vanished into thin air, leaving nothing but a few leaves behind. One girl with a scar over her right eye and pink hair ran up to where Naruto was and picked up a leaf that was left on the snow-covered ground. But Naruto ran up the side of the tallest tree he could find. Looking out at the snow-filled landscape, he tried and find any trace of the mechanical terrors that were the bastions. He had scattered clones across the border to cover every angle. Out in the distance was an old factory like the one he had seen in the jungle. Nothing again. Naruto muttered, jumping down. Where could they be? Naruto wondered out loud. There was no sign of any enemies for miles. It was possible that the snow was covering their tracks, but there wasn't even a tree toppled over. The phone McCree had given him then started to vibrate in his pocket. Hello? Naruto asked as he picked up. Hey, you may want to get over here. McCree said as the sound of screaming and gunfire echoed in the background. Those vermin were in the town the whole time. He said before taking a few shots at an Omnic. Bingo. He said, chuckling as he took down one. I'm pinned down and Torbs is at the other end protecting some folk. Get back here ASAP. Got it. Naruto yelled, powering up. With McCree. And to think I had such a simple mission. He thought as he hid behind a corner. Rolling out of his cover, he took a second to aim at the 6 Omnic who were reloading. It's high noon. He yelled confidently before firing rapidly at their weak points. Someone call the Undertaker. He joked before more Omnic came in. Damn. He yelled, jumping out of the way when one turned into a small tank and began firing at him. Naruto, where the hell are you? He muttered, taking a few shots when the coast was clear. He could hear an Omnic walking towards where he was taking cover. The cowboy took cover behind a dumpster. The Omnic walked into the alley and walked forward past him. Take this. McCree yelled as he threw a stun grenade at it, blinding its sensors. Jesse fanned his Peacemaker's hammer, destroying the Omnic's head with a barrage of bullets. Hearing the gunfire, the other bastions made their way towards where Jesse was. Damn it, McCree grunted as he was forced to retreat or risk being gunned down. As he started to run, he heard the sound of exploding behind him. Looking back, he saw 2 blondes standing among ruined remains of what used to be Omnics. Well, look what the cat dragged in. Bastard sprung out of nowhere. Forbes is evacuating the townsfolk. The 2 ran through the village, destroying any Omnics that got in their path. My clones are getting anyone they find to safety or junking any Omnics they run into. Naruto told the cowboy, who at times had caught a glimpse of a blur. The 2 could hear Torbjorn yelling in both English and Swedish as they passed some broken turrets. Arriving at the Swedes' location, Naruto had to say he was impressed by well he was holding himself. The machinery on his back was glowing red from the heat, along with the nearby turrets, which were much bigger than his standard ones. Let give them hell. McCree told Naruto as he fired at the crowd of Omnic which were marching towards them. So, you 2 finally decided to show up? Torbjorn asked as he moved towards them while simultaneously firing large shards of superheated metal. I'm running out already and already used up the molten core. The Swede said, wiping off some sweat from his brow. He was still radiating heat from his armor. Gotta admit. I didn't they get the drop on us. McCree said, shooting down an Omnic. Naruto, how many do you reckon are left? I'm running low on bullets, the cowboy said, rolling out of the way of a rain of bullets from a bastion in its turret form and returned fire. Naruto pulled Torbjorn out of the way of a blast from a bastion in its tank form. Naruto. The Swede yelled, worried for the newest member who just took a hit for him. A kunai shot out of the smoke and pierced through the Omnic. The smoke cleared to show Naruto perfectly fine except for his clothing, who was heavily burned and ruined, revealing his chest. Not many. Naruto responded, having received the knowledge from his clones. They were rapidly getting rid of any Omnics that were left in the village. The majority were in their area now. The blonde deflected a bullet back at an Omnic with a kunai. The two of you get to safety, they can't hurt me. Naruto told them as he created a wall of clones to protect his tiring allies. We could just blow them to peace. Kurama suggested. We don't want to destroy the village any more than it already is. Naruto responded to his lifelong companion. Just about done. He muttered as he blocked some bullets from hitting his retreating teammates. The number of Omnic was dropping rapidly as the rest of his clones that were around the village who hadn't dispelled yet joined in. Next day, Overwatch HQ. Lena was laying on her bed before she got a call on her cell. Looking over, she saw it was the name Emily. Hello love, need something? She asked her best friend. Lena turned on Atlas News. That blonde guy you were talking about before is on. The Redeed told her friend, who rushed over to the TV controller and turned on the TV. I have to say, I thought you were barmy when you told me how powerful this guy was. Emily said, laughing as Lena flipped through the channels. Yesterday, a Russian village in Krasnoyarsk Krai was under attack by a rogue Omnic force that survived the Omnic crisis. Overwatch deployed Jesse McCree, Torbjorn Lindholm and a new member known as Naruto, from what we heard from the mayor of the town. The three put up an impressive defense, and while there were a few casualties, the three managed to emerge victorious. The new guy on the block, Naruto, proved to be one of the most effective members. The news anchor said as a video of Naruto's clones ripping through the Omnics played beside her. I expected nothing less from him. Lena said proudly. Gotta say he's pretty fit, eh Lena? Is there something you're not telling me, Lena? Emily said suggestively. The pilot blushed at the accusation. I mean, you talked a lot about him the other day and how wicked he was. She continued, much to Lena's embarrassment. Bugger off. She yelled back before looking back at the TV. They showed a video of the three Overwatch agents together destroying the remains of the Omnic platoon and him taking a hot for Torbjorn and continued fighting it. Offhandedly, she wondered if Angela was watching as well. Russia. Come on, just have a drink. McCree said, sliding over a cup of vodka over to Naruto, who sighed. The news has been covering you all day. McCree said, looking up at the TV in the bar and taking a sip of his drink. Naruto smirked as picked up the drink and drank it down, followed by a fit of coughing. Easy there. I take it you don't drink much? He said, laughing at the blonde. Excuse me. The two turned around when they heard a young feminine voice behind them. Standing behind them with a leaf in her hands was a Russian girl nearing her teens with pink hair and a scar. She spoke with a Russian accent. How are you so strong? She asked the blonde slowly. Her English was slightly off, but it was obvious she was learning the basics. Naruto smiled and ruffled her hair. I trained as hard as I could. A little help from friends never hurts as well. Remember, when you fight to protect those you care about, that's when you will truly become strong. Naruto answered, smiling. The girl blushed a bit before nodding. Picture? She asked, pulling out a camera from her coat pocket. Making panties drop already, eh? Careful now, you know she could be considered underaged. McCree quipped, hooking his arm around the blonde. His cheeks were blushed from the alcohol he had drank. The girl didn't seem to understand what Jesse Ha said, but Naruto glared at his teammate. Nothing like some good all-Russian vodka, haha. He said, ordering 2 more drinks for them. The girl asked the bartender in Russian if he could take a picture of them, who agreed. The young Russian stood between the 2 Overwatch agents as the bartender took the picture and handed the camera back to her. So, what's your name, little miss? McCree asked. Alexandra Zarianova, she answered. I want to be strong like you. She said, looking at the blonde, who smirked. Well then, don't forget to train and eat correctly. And remember that you are stronger when you're together with your friends. Naruto told her before she ran off. Angela, I'm fine. Naruto yelled as he was put through a physical exam to make sure he wasn't hurt from his mission. He didn't even have time to go say greet his friends. Jack and Anna tried to stop her, but she insisted since they didn't know if there were any residual effects from all the attacks he'd taken head on, including the one he took for Torbjorn. I don't care. As a doctor, I cannot ignore your recklessness in battle. She said, looking over his arms for any sign of something wrong. I will never understand how you can put your body through all that yet be perfectly fine. Angela stated as she moved towards his back and began her search again for anything that could cause him a problem later. I didn't know much you cared so much. Naruto said, cheekily earning him a slap to the side of the head. Naruto knew he couldn't blame her for being worried. He was quickly realizing that the people of this world weren't as durable as the shinobi of his home. While an attack like the one he took could have killed an average ninja, he and a lot of others had taken far heavier hits without much damage. Of course, I care. Angela responded as she finished up. After all, who else is going to help me with my research? You're one of a kind subject. She asked, shrugging her shoulders. The doctor couldn't hold back a giggle when she saw the comedic glare her fellow blonde. I'm just joking, Naruto. She admitted, stepping away from him and towards her desk. Granted, she was serious about studying him to further her research. So, I'm good to go? Naruto asked as he reached for his shirt, to which Angela nodded. Well, I'm gonna go to my row. Naruto stopped as his stomach rumbled. He couldn't help but blush when he turned toward the Swiss doctor, who was laughed lightly at him. I guess I kind of did skip breakfast and lunch thanks to you. Act like you're the only one who missed lunch. In case you forgot, I was here with you. Angela said, feeling hungry herself. She had taken every precaution when checking over the Uzumaki and had brought him to the infirmary for a checkup as soon as he got there. She even had some biotics on hand in case she needed them to heal him. Come on, I'll make us something to eat. For a price. The Overwatch doctor said, smirking. What price? Naruto asked, raising an eyebrow. Just some help in the infirmary tonight. A team got hurt badly on a mission today. They're being flown in for me to fix them up. From the reports, even with biotics, it's going to take me hours to heal them. A lot of them have lost limbs or worse. She said, handing him the file. She couldn't help but feel like she was at least partially responsible. She had held off on finishing the biotic rifle, and with Torbjorn on a mission for the last week, the projected hadn't moved an inch. Maybe if I didn't push back against the biotic rifle, this wouldn't have happened. She muttered. You'll figure it out. Naruto said, trying to get her spirits back up. Looking over the report, it was a nasty firefight between Overwatch and a gang in Mexico. They were doing fine until their gear started to fail on them and their communications got hacked. In the end, the gang overran them and forced them out of the country. I'll help you, don't worry. Naruto said. Excellent. I know exactly what to make. Angela said, leading Naruto to her own living quarters. Unlike Winston's, who had a relatively compact room which was mostly filled with his notes and creations, her room was almost like a small apartment and nicely furnished. Just take a seat anywhere. She said, taking off her doctor's coat. Let me get changed quickly. She said, walking to her bedroom to change out of her work attire. It only took her a few minutes before she walked out of her room wearing a blue v-neck that showed off a bit of her cleavage and a pair of black yoga pants. Naruto also noticed that her hair was down. So how about you tell me about your mission while make us something? The news made it seem like a god descended on the battlefield. The blonde said with a small laugh as she began to boil some water. While there was general praise for the blonde across the world, quite a few were concerned that Overwatch had such a powerful member. Thankfully, the United Nations stepped in and quelled those fears. Naruto gave the request a bit of thought before he gave his answer. It was eye-opening. They just destroyed everything in their path and killed anyone who crossed their way. Naruto answered her. I also realized how fragile life is in this world. I saw someone ripped to pieces by the same attacks that bounced off me. Naruto said, noticing the clear difference between him and the humans of Earth. It almost made me feel inhuman. Angela sighed. She knew from the test she ran on him that it would take a lot more than bullets to kill the Uzumaki. She herself would have doubted his humanity, but his body was built just like any other human, only stronger. Far stronger. Don't think like that, Naruto. You may be strong, but biologically you're human, I can tell you that. She said, jovially, making the shinobi laugh. Well, at least I can rest knowing that. Naruto said, laughing along with her. Once their laughter died down, Naruto continued to talk about the mission. But yeah, after the invasion everything went well. Jesse managed to get his job done, and the two of us helped clean up the place. Everyone helped each other out in their darkest time. Naruto told her with a small smile. But I hope you see why I want to perfect my field. And why I hope to join the battlefield soon. Naruto nodded. Yeah, so many more lives could have been saved if we had someone like you there. He told her. Those that survived the battle he could heal for the most part, but many died in battle or before they could get to them. For a second he wondered if it was the right choice refusing to help with her studies in resurrection. With Torbjorn back, I'm hoping to finish it in the coming week. Jack said I can start taking some light missions after it's done, and I have already begun training. She said, smiling as she started to make some sort of sauce. Well, she didn't want to fight and she definitely didn't want to kill. However, she knew that if she went out into combat and she didn't have someone to protect her, then she may have to fight herself for her life. That's great. Naruto said ecstatically. Just be careful out there. I will. Angela responded. I'm a bit nervous about it, but I will gladly sacrifice myself to save the innocent. Angela said to the blonde, who felt his respect for his fellow blonde grow. The two continued to talk to one another as the Swiss doctor continued to cook their meal. So, what was your first mission? She asked, earning an embarrassed look from Naruto. We had to pull weeds. Naruto admitted to the doctor, who struggled to stop herself from laughing. Not being able to hold it in any longer, Angela couldn't help but laugh at his answer. Hey. What's so funny? Naruto questioned. She managed to call her laughter a bit, but still, maybe I should take up gardening then. I mean, if the man who would slaughter an army of Omnics started there. She teased. Naruto was happy that Lena wasn't around to hear that. Angela was much more mature than Lena, and she couldn't help but laugh. How Lena would react truly terrified him. I'm sorry. Angela apologized for how she was behaving. It's fine. Naruto said, sighing. It must have been beyond belief for her that a shinobi would have to do basic garden work. Man, I hated doing those missions, you know, but it helped bring the team a bit closer together. Eventually we moved on to the really missions. Man, my first C-rank mission really opened my eyes to the shinobi world, you know. Naruto told her, remembering his mission escorting Tazuna back to his country. Angela hummed in, interested. Oh? I'm interested now. She said, setting the last of the ingredients to cook. Filling 2 glasses with water, she brought the 2 cups with her and sat next to Naruto. I wonder how much actual water you and McCree drank while in Russia. She said, handing him one of the glasses, earning a blush from him. So, tell me about your first mission. I want to know more about how your world operated. My first real mission was escorting some drunk bridge builder back to his country. Naruto said, laughing a bit at the memory man and how they acted towards each other before they arrived at the country. The 2 blondes continued to talk about Naruto's mission to the land of waves. Angela was enraptured by the tale. The fierce battles and the connection Naruto had formed with Haku and his teammate Sasuke. I can't imagine what that battle must have been like. She muttered when Naruto described when he and Sasuke fought against Haku. It horrified her at the thought of fighting someone who could attack from any direction and being filled with needles. Worse was that they had no healer or bionics to help them recover at the time. The more she heard about the abilities these people had, the more she was thankful that her world didn't have them. While many would use them to help people, far too many would use them to benefit themselves at the costs of others. She could only wonder what some of the deadlier wars in human history would be like if chakra was brought into the mix. Before the two knew it, the food had finished cooking. Angela moved back into the kitchen and began to put the food together for them. And done. She said, serving the food into 2 plates. Looking over at the plates, Naruto noticed that it was a pasta-based dish, but it wasn't like the ones he was used to. What is it? Naruto asked, looking at the dish. He could tell from the smell that it well prepared, but it was still strange to him. Next to the main dish was a side of some applesauce. But truth be told, he didn't know if it was his hunger or because of the smell, but it all looked very appetizing. The medic couldn't help but feel amused by the way he was examining the looks the shinobi was giving her food. It's a food from my country called alplamagranin. My father was the one who taught me how to make it before the war began. She told him. Naruto noticed her melancholy tone when she mentioned her father. What were your parents like? Naruto asked as they sat down at the table. The Swiss doctor had a far-off look in her eyes. I loved them. Even if they were only around for a part of my life, I know I loved them and they loved me. She told him, thinking back to her brief time with her parents. She had been emotionally destroyed when they died hiding her from the Omnic, and she had been sent to the orphanage. But it gave her the drive to excel in school and in medicine. Both were so kind and always encouraged me to do my best. We weren't the richest family, but we were happy. I never expect everything to change so quickly. She said, wiping off a tear. I bet they were wonderful people if you're anything to go by. Naruto said, trying to comfort her. The blonde reached over and took her hand, much to her surprise. If you ever need me, I'll be there. After all, I am your friend. He told her. Angela blushed a bit at the contact, but smiled at his warmth towards her. I'll keep that in mind. She said gratefully. Naruto's stomach growled to his embarrassment. Well, that ruined the moment. I guess we should eat then. Later that day. Naruto was getting ready to go help Angela treat the team that had just arrived when he heard yelling outside his room. Winston had apparently been sent on a mission in Norway, so he currently had the room to himself. Sliding the door open, he was met with the sight of 2 women arguing with one another in yet a language he couldn't understand. The 2 didn't pay him any mind as they continued to argue against one another. He instantly recognized one as Anna, while the other looked like a much younger version of the Overwatch captain. She had short hair which came down to her shoulders and caramel-colored skin. Naruto took notice that she was very tall compared to most women he had met in the past, including both Lena and Angela. She looked to be around 18 years old and had an average yet developing figure. Her body showed signs that she had been trained for years. No is no Fariha. I've worked all my life so that you didn't have to live like I did. I know that I trained you how to defend yourself, but life in Overwatch isn't what I want for you. Ana said firmly in her language before walking off with a deep frown on her face. Ah. The younger Egyptian woman yelled in anger, punching the metal wall of the base. Turning around, she finally noticed the onlooker. Fariha blinked a few times, surprised that someone had been watching her. You're Naruto, right? I guess you saw all that. Sorry if we disturbed you. She apologized to the blonde. She had heard talk about the new blonde on the team and quite frankly she was jealous of him. Despite being around her age, he had already achieved her dream of joining her heroes in Overwatch. He had already become known across the world for how he handled his mission. It's nothing. To be honest, I didn't really understand what you guys were saying, haha. I was just heading out to help Angela with some people. So, what was all that about? Naruto asked her. As he walked with her down to the medical bay. He could feel her anger towards her mother as well as Ana's towards her daughter. Whatever they had been fighting about had been a topic of debate for a while. Nice to meet you, by the way. He said, offering his hand to her. Fariha Amari, it's a pleasure. She said, taking his hand. Looking him over, she couldn't help but notice how he was built. Fariha could easily see that he had been training for a long time, and if the stories rang true, then he could do much more than look athletic. You're lucky, you know. Getting to be part of Overwatch without anyone getting in your way. She said, still a bit bitter from her mother's refusal of her desire. Naruto saw her glare toward the direction her mother walked off in. I wouldn't exactly say that I'm lucky. I figured after my last war I'd at least get to take a vacation. But I guess being stranded in a different universe works, Naruto told her jokingly. Fariha smiled at his light-hearted nature despite the situation he was in and let get out a short laugh. So I guess you want to join Overwatch? Naruto asked her. It's my dream. Fariha said firmly. I grew up here. With heroes like Jack and Reinhardt who risk everything to save humanity from the Omnics. I want to help the innocent just like they do, but my mum doesn't want me. That's why I'm jealous of you for joining at an even younger age than me. She said, sounding a bit distraught. I'm sure your mom will come around eventually. Naruto said, surprising her. Most people just told her that she should just give it a rest or that her mother only had her best interest at heart. You actually think that? She asked, wanting to make sure she had heard him correctly. I can't really say anything against it now, can I? I technically became a soldier at 13 years old. I've been in battles to the death and even a war against people who could crush mountains and make it rain meteors. As long as your heart is in it for the right reasons, then I say follow your dream. Naruto said, earning another smile from the younger Amari at the same time causing her to pale a bit at thought, trying to fend of someone who could drop meteors. Thank you. I think you're the first person not to side with mum. Hopefully she'll come around one day. I just hope I never have to fight someone like you. She told him as they arrived at the bay. It was nice talking to you, Naruto, I'll see you. Fariha said to him as he walked into the medical bay. Inside, Angela and a few other nurses had already started treating some of the patients. Naruto saw her remove a bullet from someone's chest before using biotics to heal the injury. I'm here. Naruto said, walking up to her and using his power to speed up the healing. The sounds of painful moans filled his ears as he creates clones to help out. Geez, guys got mangled. Naruto said under his breath. Thank you. Angela said as she and Naruto worked together to fix the bullet-ridden agent. His anguished face began to relax as they finished him up. All patched up. She said, giving him a nod as they moved over to the next one. The nurses watched in awe as the two flew through the soldiers with frightening efficiency. Gabriel walked into the infirmary followed by Jack. The two of them each sported grim faces as they looked over their soldiers. Jack smiled slightly at the sight of the two blondes working together. I thought you said you had this covered, Gabriel. Jack said to the Blackwatch leader who glared at the graying blonde. I didn't expect this to happen, Morrison. Gabriel growled at Jack. Next time I'm going there myself. It's clear that normal soldiers aren't enough. He said, walking up to Naruto, who was using his 6th Yang chakra to heal a woman who had a massive burn over the right side of her body. I need to talk to you. Gabriel told Naruto. Come, you can leave this to Dr. Ziegler. Naruto glared at the veteran Overwatch member. You can wait. We can help these people faster together and their lives are at risk. Naruto stated, much to Gabriel's irritation. Gabriel tried to grab the blonde only for Jack to hold him back, giving him a stern look. Gabriel stood firm in his place for a second before relenting, knowing that he was outnumbered. Fine. Naruto, I need your help. Angela called out to the blonde, who nodded as he finished healing the burn on the woman. Rushing over, Naruto saw a horribly injured man. He was completely knocked out, but his body looked like it had been run over by a truck. His right arm was twisted backwards with a bone piercing through his flesh. To make it worse, it almost looked like his skin had been peeled off. How horrible. 3 broken ribs, both legs are shattered, his right arm is shattered in 2 places. Plus, his skin was forcefully removed. She grimaced at the clear sign of torture. He was barely alive at this point, and this was beyond what her biotics could do at the moment, given the fact she needed to save some for the rest of the group. There's nothing I can do. She admitted as she looked over his X-rays. It pained her to say that, but they had done everything under the sun to this man, from breaking his bones to damaging his organs. Naruto took in a deep breath as he called in any and all nature energy near him. His eyes changed colors from his regular deep blue to a glowing orange, with a thick horizontal bar and a perpendicular slit cutting it in two for pupils. A smirk appeared in his face as the power surged through him. He placed his right hand over where the patient's heart would be. Everyone in the room felt a pulse of energy as Naruto lifted his hand away from the man, leaving behind a sun-like marking with more black marks extending from it which wrapped around the man's torso. Naruto's eyes shifted back to normal as he exhaled and let his jutsu do its job. He should be fine now, he said to Angela, giving her a thumb up. She was shocked as the man's vitals began to stabilize faster than she had ever seen before. By all means the soldier could have been considered dead, but now he had a rising chance of surviving. I've used this to save one of my senseis whose body was turning to ash, Naruto told her. Just give him some time, Naruto said, moving on to the next patient. Let's just let them do their thing, Reyes. We can talk to him later, Jack said, smiling as he watched the blonde pair. Gabriel sighed but agreed and followed Jack out the door. Looking back, he gave Naruto one last look before leaving. I don't want Naruto joining Blackwatch. He's not someone we should keep in the shadows, the strike commander said, firmly, surprising his fellow American by the sudden statement. Do you even realize what you're saying? You saw what he can do in battle, Morrison. We can use someone like him for large-scale operations and as a deterrent against those who want us down, Gabriel argued. He saw Naruto as their big chance to fully become a world power. People would think twice before they decided to act up or tried to attack Overwatch. Bottom line was that very few things on the planet could compete with the blonde at the moment. With Naruto they could become the most powerful force to have ever existed on Earth. Even the United Nations would quake before them. You act like you would be okay with being used like that, Reyes. He doesn't exactly strike me as the type of person who would use his power to scare people into being peaceful. In the end it's his choice if he joins you in Blackwatch or stays with me in Overwatch, Jack said, ending the conversation. As of recently things had been strained between the two of them. It started a few years ago, but it had been getting worse over the last year. The newest blonde was only the most recent thing they've argued about. Any news on Talon? He asked the Blackwatch commander, switching the topic of conversation before they got too heated. Only that they are decently funded yet still small for now. I wouldn't worry about them, Gabriel told Jack. A small smirk made its way onto Reyes's face. Anna said wants to recall Gerald back here so we can get any information he has. How our group has grown. Jack chuckled a bit. Remember when we were just a small team and now here we are, a massive organization protecting the world. We'll send an escort to his home to make sure he gets here safely. Anna was thinking of taking Naruto with her. The super soldier said to Hispanic American, who nodded. So, she wants to bring a living super weapon with her, huh? I guess that's one way of telling Talon to back off, Reyes stated, amused by his own joke. Jack gave his friend a light punch followed by a scowl. Oh relax, I was just joking. I'm planning to go myself as Blackwatch has intelligence that Talon may try to assassinate Gerald soon, Gabriel told Jack. He couldn't help but smirk on the inside when he saw the face Jack was giving him. The blonde didn't expect him to want to join the mission, and truth be told he didn't particularly want Gabriel to go. He knew that he was losing control of Blackwatch, but as long as they remained loyal to Overwatch, he couldn't do anything against them. On top of that, he had a legitimate reason to go on the mission. On top of that, assuming the information was real, it would be safer to have Reyes there as well. I see, Jack said reluctantly. Why didn't he tell me about this sooner? He thought to himself. He did not like the fact that Blackwatch was become as active as it was recently, but Gabriel was their commander and had enough authority to go on his own, even if he wanted to stop him. How's the situation in Australia? The blonde asked. The outback is hellhole. The rest of the country is recovering with the help of UN, but a large part is rampant with crime, Gabriel said simply. Later in the infirmary. Once the last of the patients was finished, Angela wiped the sweat off her forehead. Looking over the medical bay, she couldn't help but smile at her work. Our work. She corrected herself as she looked at the other blonde in the room. Naruto cracked his back as coughed Angela, looking at him. Merci, Naruto, Angela said, letting out a sigh of relief that they managed to save everyone who managed to stay alive until they got back here. The blonde male raised an eyebrow as he didn't understand what she had said to him. Realizing this, Angela quickly corrected herself. I mean, thank you, Naruto. Don't worry about it. I couldn't just leave them like this, you know. A lot of these people have families to get back to. The Uzumaki said, going up next to the Swiss doctor, who began typing her report with a smile on her face. Hey, I better go see what Jack and Gabriel needed. If you need anything else, just let me know. Naruto said as Angela's fingers flew over the keyboard. I understand. Thank you again for everything you've done for these people today. I don't know if I could have saved them all without your help. She admitted to him and to herself. She had to get better at healing for the good of everyone in Overwatch. Looking past the blonde at the man who had originally been mangled when he arrived and at the glowing markings on his chest. I'm just that awesome, I guess. The Uzumaki said, earning a giggle from the Swiss doctor. If you ever need help again, just call me. Later, Angela. He said, giving her a two-finger salute before exiting the room. I'll make you to send you my consultation fee for earlier today. She yelled out as he left. Once Naruto was gone, Angela couldn't help but look over at the staff she was currently building with renewed determination. Today had showed her the limits of her capabilities even with nanotechnology. She then took a look at the file she had for the biotic rifle. She still didn't like it, but seeing the disaster that was this mission, she couldn't help but see the potential in it. It would help prevent injuries from getting worse before they got back. I need to talk to Jack tomorrow. She thought to herself, though she was a bit loathsome of the idea. She had a new goal for her research. She had to improve even further, and with Naruto's help, she hoped to be able to reach a new level in nanobiotics. But Naruto knocked on Jack's door and waited for the leader of Overwatch's response. A few seconds later, he heard Jack telling him to come inside. The teen walked up to the older man who was looking over a wall covered in a screen, displaying a massive amount of global news. You wanted to talk to me, Jack? Naruto asked. He was quick to notice how tired the older blonde looked. Yeah. We finally got the full ruling from the UN and what to do with you. Jack said, pulling out a folder from his desk and handing it to him with a small smile. I have to say, I didn't expect them to be as generous as they were. He told Naruto, who started to read over the file. His head almost began to hurt from the sheer amount of information that he had to process. Directly under the command and guidance of Jack Morrison. Must follow rules and laws set by the nation they are currently present in, with the exception of religious laws, restrictions involving personal rights, and those that interfere with the mission with some limitations. Naruto read out loud, looking at the strike commander with a raised eyebrow. From what I understand, the members of the UN had no way of knowing what kind of culture you were raised under and whether they aligned with those here on Earth, so to avoid conflict between you and them, they in essence gave you full freedom in personal matters such as marriage and religion, as long as you don't hurt people. You still, however, have to follow laws for theft, rape, and murder and other such laws. Also, you are not to join in national or international conflicts without my approval. Jack explained as he began to go over Naruto's rights and restrictions. Overall, Jack could say Naruto was the most liberated man in the world. Besides having to work with Overwatch and not causing trouble, he could do as he pleased. Naruto nodded as he accepted the terms he was given. He didn't really know what to expect, so he was satisfied with what he had been given. Alright, anything else? The blonde asked. One last thing. Jack said as the screen next to them shifted to the picture of a well-dressed with a small mustache. This is Gerard Lacroix. He's one of our agents looking into a criminal organization called Talon. We are currently planning a mission for you, Anna, and Reyes to go and help bring him here safely. He told him. Naruto could practically feel the irritation coming from Jack when he said that Gabriel was coming. You don't seem that happy that Gabriel is coming. Is there something going on? Naruto asked his fellow blonde, who sighed. He didn't think that Naruto would catch on, but in retrospect he really should have expected that. Jack rubbed his temples in annoyance at the thought of the growing situation with Reyes and Blackwatch. As you probably learned from McCree, Reyes runs his own subsection of Overwatch called Blackwatch. Unlike Overwatch, who serve in the public eye, Blackwatch does everything that we can't do without public outcry. They carry out jobs like taking down or spying on groups that, well, the public see as clean, but in reality they are secretly deep in crime rings or assassinating certain people. As the strike commander of Overwatch, I had a decent amount of control over them. Jack explained to him. And you've lost control over them? Naruto concluded from what he had learned from McCree and Jack. The former gang member had gone into detail about just what Blackwatch did. They often cleaned up the garbage left behind by Overwatch. If Overwatch attacked a terrorist group, they would take out the investors who had supported the terrorists from the shadows. Bingo. Jack said with a heavy sigh, telling the younger of the two that he was correct. As it stands, Blackwatch overall views Gabriel as their one and only leader. Any orders I give often have to go through him, and I'm sure he has withheld information from me. Jack told Naruto, who nodded. It made dealing with groups like Talon that much more difficult when Reyes may be holding back important piece of information. And recently you've become an issue between me and him. He wants you to join him in Blackwatch, and while I see that your past as a ninja may be better used with him, I can also see how it can backfire. Reyes wants to use force to sway the world how he wants it. Getting you on his side would be the easiest way for him to do so. Jack told him. Naruto looked away, not knowing how to take the news that he was increasing the gap between Jack and Gabriel. But I've been thinking. Jack said, looking into Naruto's eyes. The Uzumaki could see just how tired Jack was. Years of combat must have taken a massive toll on the man. Naruto could see the regret building in his eyes. Join Blackwatcher at least partly. And spy on them for me. Jack said, sounding like he had just bit into a lemon. I'll tell Reyes that we decided to let you join them on missions. I wouldn't force you, but I feel that at this point it may be needed. Think about it and give me your response after your missions. And please don't tell Reyes. Jack said to Naruto, who stood silently. Dismissed. End chapter. So this part ends here. If you want to see next part of this series, like the video now and share the story with your friends. Bye bye.